And welcome in to a very special, rambunctious, detailed, interesting, guest-heavy edition of Bears/Brags After Dark. Gregory, great to see you, my buddy.
Yeah, long time no see. Here we are.
Yes, we've got two big guests tonight as we're going to be heading around the old NFC North, heading up to Detroit with a friend of mine who's now a friend of yours, and Matt Dery. Matt Nagy is here, and we have a former Chicago Bear coming on the show tonight, Brags, which is you're doing. So I want you to introduce our guest that's coming.
Yeah, we're efforting his camera here, and he'll be jumping back in here in a second. But excited to get Steve Edwards, if you have read the description on our show, a former offensive lineman, who I think is going to offer an interesting perspective on a few different levels. He was at minicamp last week, so he got a firsthand look at what's going on. I know he follows this team closely. And, being that he was a part of the Bears team, in the early 2000s before the Lovie Smith Bears eventually took off, I think it'll be interesting to hear his perspective about, being part of a team that's on the rise, where they go from the doldrums of being one of the worst teams in the NFL with Jonathan Quinn, and then you go from that to, playoff aspirations. And then, of course, the Bears ended up in the Super Bowl, from that little run there. So it'll be interesting to hear what he thinks.
Yeah, and he went through a regime change, right? Or at least a coaching change with Dick Duran his first year. And then here comes the lovey-dovey coming to rock and roll and get the thing turned around. At his first year with Lovey, they didn't win it. I think they won 5 games, and the next year they won 11. So, and listen, the offensive line, he's played every position on except for center. We got guys moving on all over the place. So I think it makes there's a lot of things that he can touch on. And the Lions apparently are going to be perhaps on, I don't know. Here we go one more time. Hard Knocks, Detroit Lions with their new helmets and their Jahmyr Gibbs and their Jack Campbells. Matt Dery is he used to do pre and post with the Detroit Pistons. He's a WAER Syracuse guy. He does Locked On Lions. He's this guy, just an entertaining dude to listen to. So people want to stick around for that as well. For the record, I don't know if people noticed, but I'm in a slightly weird position here. Brags, I think I might have joined you. I should not have. My body was aching today, and I pushed myself after our show.
You pull a hip flexor?
I got some knee instability going on right now, buddy. I got sharp. I'm hyped up on ibuprofen. I got a bag of ice on the damn thing, and I'm hoping for the best. So I will. If you
got an injured roster here with CHGO Bears. You got Nick, who's going to be on the mend here with his pinky finger for 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Who knows what that means for his softball career? Now
back for the playoffs. That's what it means. It means back for the playoffs. Damn it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it means. So, any rate, and hey, good to be here with you, buddy. It's been a day.
Yeah, I'm excited. Robert Lee's in the chat. He says, bold prediction: Bears lose in the NFC Championship game this year to San Francisco and come back the following year to win it all. Sound familiar to anyone?
Robert, let's go back and do 84 and 85 all over again. I will sign up for that. And listen, if you told me that the Bears were going to be in the playoffs next year and then actually compete and be dancing for a Super Bowl in 2 years in Justin Fields' 5th year, that'd be the most awesome thing I think you could tell me and or any Bears fan. Look at my guy Mubs.
Mubs hitting us with the reality check. Strong take, my guy, but he says, I bet they missed the playoffs.
See, Mubs is always banging on me for being negative, but then here comes Mubs with a bet they missed the playoffs on a Bears After Dark on June 21st.
Well, and that's what I want to talk with Matt Dery about. Certainly one of the topics I want to ask him is, from his perspective, does he think the Bears are capable of what the Lions did last year? And I don't think anybody would think that the Lions season last year was a failure by any means. It was a step in the right direction, but they didn't make the playoffs. And everyone, applauds them for knocking the Packers out last week of the season. I know we appreciated it as Bears fans, but at the same time, while that was fun for them, the week prior, they lost to the Carolina Panthers on the road, who were not a good football team, and they had the playoffs right in their face, and they blew it, So, at the end of the day, it was a successful season, 9 wins, but they didn't make the playoffs. So, if the Bears have that same season, I'll take it, as much as it would hurt to fall just short of the playoffs. But joining us here on the first half of our show is my guy, big man, Big Steve Edwards, formerly of the Chicago Bears offensive line. How you doing tonight, Steve? Welcome to CHGO Bears.
Hey, how you guys doing, man?
We're doing great, man. I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you efforting the camera and everything for us. Like I was telling the guys, I was excited to talk to you on a few different levels because, I know you were at minicamp last week. Bears were putting out some social media photos I saw you in, so you get to see the perspective from the team. But before we get to them, I also was curious from your, experience, in the early 2000s playing for this team and the transition of a bad football team from a good one and the vibes at, training camp and off season. It sounds like this season is starting to get those kind of vibes. What was that like for you to go through that transition of a bad football team to now all of a sudden young talent starts to come in and now you guys are coming in with a different mindset?
Yeah, I'm definitely very familiar with that. That was like kind of the, me coming from the Dick Duran times, and then we're going into the Lovey era, and I was still a young player, but that first year Lovey, it was rough. It was about installing his scheme, his culture, and things didn't look that great. You know what I mean? Obviously, everybody knows Lovey's philosophy, hustle to the ball, finish, turnovers, and that was the defense. And then on the offensive side, we were trying to get a new culture going on as far as finishing and just a whole different mindset. So, and then that we went from that first year of Lovey to the second year, and that's where we made a major step, and we felt it. We knew it that off season that, okay, here comes Tommy Harris, and here comes Tank. We knew we were ready to make that transition, and that's the year that we beat Green Bay. The year that Lovey was saying, "Hey, we're going to come in and beat them." We actually beat them that first year, but it was that second year that we came in. It was just like everything was clicking, which eventually led to the following year getting to the Super Bowl. So just the vibes around that place, me just being able to be there for those, for Monday we had the golf outing, and it was really just alumni players. But the cool thing about it I never seen before was the front office and the coaching staff was at the golf outing with us. Poles was out there chipping. Him and Cunningham are over there. And I went right up to him and I talked to him. He gave me a good, candid, good conversation, open conversation, which is pretty cool. And then I ran into him inside the clubhouse. He just is open. Eberflus came up to our table, talking to guys. It was really open. And then going in for minicamp, just the vibe in the place, the energy. You can tell that they're on to something special, and hopefully that'll be the case this season.
See, and I don't know how much that really matters, Steve, but I think it's awesome for for me to hear, for Bears fans to hear that there is an open door to the past, that they are embracing what the organization has been. I got wind of that last year, that when Eberflus came, he was calling up different guys and just basically telling them, you're welcome around here, and we want to just let you know that you're still a part of this organization because you've contributed in different ways. So that's awesome to hear. What you got any nuggets that you pulled out of that conversation, Steve, that you could share with us? Anything interesting?
Absolutely, I do. We talked about the number one draft pick, which I was really heavily involved. I did some pre-draft stuff, and I was really high on Paris Johnson, and he was too. But Darnell Wright was their guy. From the conversation I had, he's like, "Hey, I like Paris," and obviously Arizona came up. But he was just basically saying so many words that Darnell was their guy. They weren't going to move off of it. And then, we just talked about some other prospects that we've seen, and he was just very candid, very accurate from what I've heard. But then in the clubhouse, that was out in the chipping. We was out there practicing. We got to Darnell, and he likes the way he's coming along, and he's going to be something special. Then when we got in the clubhouse, I grabbed him again. I said, I like the way this line. What do you feel about this line? He really feels like they're coming along. He likes the unit that they have. He likes the depth. And at that moment, before I can even go any further, my buddy who was there with me intersected trying to ask his stupid questions, and I couldn't get. I wanted to dig. I said I had him going. I was like, I'm about to keep going, but he's liking the unit. I mentioned to him I like Whitehair moving back to center. He was in agreement to that. And just everything right now, he just feels really good about the unit. You could tell.
When everyone talks about the Super Bowl Bears or even the 2005 Bears who came on real hot, I think won like 11 straight games or something like that. Ultimately lost to the Panthers in the playoffs. But those 2 years, everyone talks about the defense. But I think the thing people forget about the Super Bowl run was they were also number one in the league in offense. And a big part of that was because the offensive line and the veteran leadership you guys had with Reuben Brown, Space Mountain, he used to always say, Roberto Garza, and now you bring in a guy like Nate Davis around a young group. How important is that for this unit? How much of an impact can he make with this team?
A huge one. I mean, obviously he'll be next to Darnell Wright. He comes like his strength is run game. So obviously I think this is a perfect match with Darnell. He's a mauler. So I think, and then his veteran presence is going to be there to kind of help bring this young guy up to. But this is stabilization. This the stability of the offensive line, getting guys in place and saying, hey, you guys are there. Obviously, I'm sure there's competition still out there. I've seen Leatherwood, he's at guard. So I think there could be some competition there if there's any slip by Jenkins. But you got your guys in place. And I think that's something that, that is very important. So 2005, I was a backup, but we had our starter unit. It was like, okay, let's figure out who's going to be the backups and where everybody else goes. But the starter unit was pretty much in place, and that's supporting to solidify that offense and just have some confidence. Where everybody's going to be and being on the same page, and then the guys who are backing up kind of know what their roles are. So I think that's a beautiful thing to be going in now. That's just saying one thing. We'll see how it goes, but it's good to just have that going in.
Steve, you played all over the line. What was the hardest transition from one spot to another to make for you?
Oh, I mean, it was going from guard back out to tackle. So originally I was a tackle all my career, high school, college, beginning in the pros, and then they moved me into guard. So then they expected me to bounce back out to tackle because I had all that experience. So that was always different because when you're at guard, you got your center next to you, you got your tackle next to you. It's immediate. The contact with the D lineman is immediate. You can get your hands on them. When you go out to the edge and you're out there to tackle, you're on an island, and it is. But honestly, it's a much better athlete. I wouldn't say much better, but back when I was playing, it was a vast difference. Like who was better athlete was the defensive end. Nowadays, I mean, D tackles are unbelievably talented, but back then the ends were the guys. So it was just like, okay, now I got to adjust the kick step, your angle, you either going 45 vertical, it's just all changes. And then the timing of your punch is coming a little bit different. You know what I mean? It's like you can't get them immediately. Got to time that punch up. Got to know where that pocket is, trying to keep that pocket wide. It was always a difficult one to do. And, and I tried to just embrace it just to, stay in the league as long as I could, and that did keep me around for a while.
You kind of hinted, I don't know how much you're paying attention to this, but when you said Leatherwood, is listed at guard, so he may or may not be in some kind of competition. You mentioned Jenkins. That certainly got my ears perked up. With Jenkins moving from right guard to left guard, how hard will that be for him specifically? How much of a difference, even though you're staying at guard, you're moving to the other side? And then B, with his up and down storyline since, Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles have come here, do you think there's an opportunity there for a guy like Alex Leatherwood to take his spot?
I think competition, there always will be an opportunity. Let's focus. The first thing is it can be a little difficult, especially if you are new to guard. Now he's got some, experience there from last year. Now bumping over to left, but the beauty about it, they got him there, and he could try to find his home, find his comfortability and his stance at that position. But it could be some difficulties. But I think his journey has been kind of weird. He never really got the opportunity to really see him at tackle. He never, injuries and things like that. But now, he's in guard, he's at guard, and he's kind of got to hey, it's one of those things where you want to stay on the team. That's where they value at. You got to just embrace it and go with it. I would have definitely liked to see him more tackle, but there's a possibility if Leatherwood, he has some things off the field and he's had a lot of baggage. You never know though. He has the talent. Guy came from Alabama first round. You hope that you never know that lightning strikes and this guy all of a sudden gets it. So I mean, we won't really be able to tell that until training camp when things get a little physical and we get into some preseason games. But I would think that Jenkins has this thing solidified pretty much, but it will take Leatherwood to really, really come along and really show some good, really good film out there. And we'll see. I know he's one of these guys that could maybe not be on the chopping block, but when I seen him at guard, I say, man, this dude could be good there. I like when you take a tackle and put him at guard. I think that's always a great transition.
That's super interesting. And, they paid Nate some big dough and they moved Tevin over there. So, but he, maybe there's a reserve spot that he could continue to work and show these coaches what he can do. I got a trivia question for you, Steve. Can you name every quarterback that started a game for the Bears in 2004?
Oh, wow. Man, 2004, that was Lovey's first year?
Yep.
Oh, my God. Okay, we started off with Rex. Oh, my God, this is a hard one. Rex.
It's super hard.
Craig Krenzel.
Yep. Rex started 3 games. Krenzel started 5.
Chad Hutchinson.
Had 5. There we go. And can you get the final 3? He was the most veteran of anybody on the roster.
Jeff George.
Nope.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
It was
straight
2004.
Out. Yeah.
Oh, give me a hint.
He came out of 2 colleges, Tulane and Middle Tennessee State. And
yeah. Oh, Jonathan Quinn. Oh, my God. Oh,
there it is.
Oh, my God.
Could any of those guys play? Let's be honest. Who, if you had to win one football game, who you taking, Steve?
I'm obviously get Rex. You're gonna go with Rex, but you want to go with I know you want to go with the latter. Let's Craig. Chad Hutchinson, I guess. He did a couple. He had a couple game stretch where he did some things. There was some lightning in the bottle, but oh my God, Jonathan Quinn really strikes a nerve. Say that to Olin or any of those guys, man. This dude couldn't even throw, man. Do you understand that this dude told us we're playing against Washington Redskins. This is Sean Taylor back in the day. Like this dude was just lurking 6'4" at the we like, just crazy. So we couldn't do anything. Like they were trying to pass the ball. We man, just run the ball. We just run it. And like halftime, we came out, and I guess Olin might have said something. We come back out. Jonathan Quinn comes up to defense is out first. Jonathan Quinn comes up and like, hey, guess what, guys? Coach said we're gonna run the ball. We're like, no duh, man. We about to, dude, you can't pass, dude. So came along with Terry Shea. It was like a package deal. And that was his backup, and this dude hadn't thrown a ball in who knows when. And whoa, what a year that was.
So he was like nerd vibes, Jonathan Quinn, or just like clueless, or both?
Both, man. That dude was just like he made some good money as a coach. He was one of those guys that just hid in the back as a backup. Then, got lucky, nobody got hurt, and just kind of just rode the wave. And when he got to Chicago, he had to get out there, boy, and it was not nice. I mean, it's just like this dude should never been in the NFL. I hate to talk like that, but this dude should never been in the NFL.
Yeah, I remember those days well. Back to
you were probably saying this is the guy. Braggs is
no, it's not on there. I had no illusions that season.
Yeah.
we as fans, we can talk ourselves into a lot of things, but that was a bridge too far right there. That was a tough season, but going back to this year's team, being at minicamp last week, I know they weren't in pads, so you can only take so much from 7-on-7 and things of that nature. What's standing out to you? Obviously, we all want to hear about DJ Moore and things of that nature, but anything else outside of that? What's standing out to you about this team?
Well, I mean, we were out there, we got the minicamp, and standing out was the defense. The defense was this, and that was that day. Maybe the reports came out that Justin had a bad day, and he was down 2 receivers. Claypools was out, Moody was out, so he was down 2 guys. But the defense, it was like a period, so I was really paying attention. The period was kind of like a walk-through pace, and then they switched right into another team period. Team period was kind of walk-through pace. They switched right into another team period. And it was like the offensive line and the offense, generally the whole offense, but really the offensive line too, where the defense just went up another level and the offense wasn't ready for it, and what I really saw was that offensive line, they were getting blown past. That defensive line was coming. They were sending different units in. And obviously they're in shells. I don't even know if they were wearing shells. They're in the helmets, but still, there's some engagement. Let's get yourself in front of guys. Don't get blown by. And I saw a couple of instances where guys were just coming free, and that was kind of worrisome. But I'm like, it's early. Defense always has the early advantage. And then I realized Justin didn't have his 2 receivers. He didn't look as sharp as as well as like I said. But it was the defense. They were moving. They were humming. They were talking. They were lively. And it kind of reminded me of that Lovey, that mode, where I felt like when Mike Brown was out there and they're chirping and they're talking.
Right.
And but
that's what's interesting about it, Steve, is no, they don't have the defensive ends yet. Everybody knows they need pass rushers. But you talked about Tank Johnson, Tommy Harris coming into the fold. They just brought in 2 young D tackles that are hungry. Javon Dexter, from what Carm tells me, looks like a freak of nature out there. And this linebacking core, no, are they Urlacher and Briggs and Hillemeyer? Maybe not, but they're extremely talented, top end linebacking, production from Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards. In this secondary, Eddie Jackson, trying to pick ball. I think people, are underestimating just how good this defense could potentially be if the right things fall into place.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Edmonds, you talking about a guy who could cover a lot of ground, man. He's so long. He's 6'5" at middle linebacker. I know we're going to miss Roquan, but this guy I think is going to bring a different element that I think will really surprise people. And then in particular, he's at the middle linebacker, but those linebackers will cover a lot of ground, getting in the passing lanes. He's long, so they made it difficult, and in turn, that's going to help that defense. The offense. I mean, the thing I'm going to tell you, another thing I'm kind of like this. I just want to keep an eye on this is Braxton Jones. We know he's been working with Olin, and I want to say, as far as his anchor, that was the big thing about him. Can he anchor down against the bull rush? We saw a lot of times where he got pushed back into the lap of Justin Fields, and Justin had to spin out. Now he's an athletic dude on any tosses. He was very good. I mean, but it's that bull rush, and you got to be able to sit down on the bull. You're going against grown men out there. But Olin's one of these guys that understands the anchor and hand placement and hand striking. And I come from that same principle of teaching and understanding that. So when he got with Olin, I'm like, cool. One thing I did see, he got blown by a couple occasions. I don't want to look too much into it, but I was like, is he trying to worry about sitting down on the bull when now somebody's kind of, running past him? That's something I would probably take a look at as things move forward. Is he overcompensating for sitting down on a bull rush, which will in turn maybe give up some speed off the edge, which he didn't particularly have a problem with. So watch out for that. And I kind of seen that a little bit.
So you're hopeful but skeptical on Braxton really holding down that left tackle spot. Is that fair?
Yes. I hope for the best, but I think there's still a learning curve with him. And the thing about it, everybody has a tail on him now, so he's got to have to sort those things out. But like I said, we got to wait to training camp. I plan on trying to get up there and get eyes on that a little bit better. Get up there for one of those practices and see what's up and see how he's doing with those pads come on.
Very cool.
Well, I hope to see you up there, Steve, and maybe when we get into camp, maybe we can bring you back on and talk about some of the stuff once we get a better perspective, once we get the pads on and cracking.
All right. Yes, sir.
What do you say, Carl?
Well, two things. One, before you go, Steve, the quarterback. How confident are you that he's the dude?
I'm confident. I got to be confident, dealing with all the quarterbacks I had. So I got to have some level of confidence. Like, hey, this dude looked better than all my quarterbacks I had. All 15, 16 of them, I just worry about being so much pressure, us having the draft capital that we have, that everybody's like, we got to see it this year, or we need to trade up, you know what I mean? So I'm scared that we put too much emphasis on him trying to be perfect, but I think he's the guy. I think he's got the people around him. I think it will all come together. And I think we'll see some beautiful things out of him. Obviously, I think the reports came out that he responded well, so that was good to see after I seen maybe, just not a good performance that day from him. So I think if you can, and that's part of it, man. It's early. Defense has the advantage. They're playing fast. As long as you come back and you can bounce back and have better performance, that's always, showing progress, and maturity.
Do you have one more thing for him, Carl?
Well, I just want to let Steve know that you are officially our 2003 to 2005 offensive lineman guru, who we're going to lean on to, assess what's going on with this revamped offensive line, which you're confident in. But I'm going to have, we're all going to have a close eye on it because, they got a big time job this year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm here, man. Y'all know where to find me, man. I'm always watching, man. I'm watching this game, and, just hit me up. I have something for you.
I appreciate it. When you see this picture, Steve, what are you thinking?
Big Aaron Gibson right next to me, just absolutely. And Jason McKee's got a biscuit head down there, and tell him I said that. But like Aaron Gibson made me look small right there.
Well, we appreciate all your time tonight. We'll definitely be calling you to come back on and give us some more of your expertise. Thanks again for all your time, and we'll see you soon.
Absolutely, guys. Take care.
All right, that is big. Steve Edwards, formerly of the Chicago Bears and on the sidelines at minicamp, coming up at training camp. Be out there too. So now,
can I call you Jonathan Quinn from now on?
No, you can't. No, you can't. All right. You're Jonathan Quinn. I'm Rex. All right. So moving on to our next guest, we're going to keep this rivalry theme going that we've been doing for the last few After Darks. Last After Dark, we had Peter Bukowski from Locked On Packers come on the show. And tonight we have Matt Dery coming on from Locked On Lions. And apparently my guy Mark saying that he knows you through another person. He said like a little two ways from bacon, maybe.
Dery, do you remember me?
Of course. I had no idea, Greg, that you were co-hosting this show with Mark Carman, who is a Chicago legend.
Yes, and I'm learning so much from him.
Well, I think if memory serves, you were pre-post for the Pistons 2003, right? 2002. Yes. Yeah. So me and one of Matt's friends from college, good old Rob Ginsburg. I think this is right.
That's correct.
I know that I was there.
Yes.
Or maybe he just connected us. I drove up. Braggs, you should love this. It was Jordan's first game back in a Wizards uniform.
Yes. You were with Gins. Gins and you were both there.
That's exactly right. And it was a preseason game. He played
the preseason opener.
Yeah,
correct.
We drove. We drove to Detroit for the preseason opener, and basically the highlight was just seeing him come out of the tunnel, and I felt it come all over me. That was a little weird pun right there, but I was very excited.
Yeah. No, it's great to see you, Carmen. It's funny. Gins is I think doing well. I know he got married. I don't talk to him as much as I should, but I know how passionate he is about his sports teams. I'm sure he's not real happy with Pedro Grafal's lineup maneuvering with his Southsiders, but that's neither here nor there. But it's great to be with you guys.
Yeah, good to see you, man. All right, now you can argue with Braggs about I'll just do the first question. Did you Jahmyr Gibbs? Really? Jack Campbell? Dery? I mean, why do the Lions got to make this hard on themselves? It was so out of the box. But maybe you think they were making brilliant moves.
Well, I'll say this, Mark. I think the night of the draft, and certainly, doing a post-draft pod, I was like, you're right. Is this 1983? We're drafting a running back and they're taking a middle linebacker. Like, what is this? As the draft wore on, and as you go through rounds 2 through 3, and then you get to 4 through 7, I do see what they're doing. And obviously getting rid of DeAndre Swift enables Gibbs now to get some opportunities with your guy, Montgomery. And I think I still don't love the Campbell pick. I think it was high to be taking a middle linebacker at 18, but I do see what they're trying to do. And the rest of their draft, they did very well. And let's be honest, fellas. And I know you guys are Bears guys and you have Hall of Fields at quarterback. I heard Big Steve calling him Justin. And I know certain people, friends of mine in Chicago that I won't name, Dave Kaplan, have anointed the Hall of Fields getting his gold jacket this year, but sorry, this is going to be the Lions division to lose. I don't see anybody else. I'm not some slappy here that's telling you they're going to win 13 games, but this division is pretty weak, and I think Detroit's on its way.
Yeah, they finished on a strong note last year, knocking the Packers out, ending Rodgers' tenure in the NFC with an interception and say la vie to the playoffs for him. So I know a lot of Bears fans appreciated that. When you talk about the Lions, before I eventually want to move to your perspective from the Bears, but sticking with the Lions, I guess the biggest controversy of the offseason has been the gambling and players and coaches getting suspended. How much of that is a concern to you? Is that something that is taking a hit in the culture that Dan Campbell is trying to build?
I mean, to say it's interesting because previously to the Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes regime, you had an absolute bleep show with Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn. I mean, it was a disaster. You have veteran players, vested veteran players, invested veteran players like Darius Slay, Glover Quinn. I mean, publicly saying, get me out of here. I hate it here. Patricia's the worst. So the culture was so bad. To turn it around now to Brad and Dan and the job that they've done, you're right. The gambling thing wasn't good. Jamison Williams is going to have to miss the first 6 games. So that's not good. Quintez Cephas is gone. CJ Moore, very highly touted sort of Special teamers been booted off the team, so that's not good. But they've been able to weather this because they're the favorites to win the division. They feel so good about where they are. Everybody showed up for voluntary camp. Everybody showed up for mandatory camp. Jameson said he was sorry, although I think he's still pretty immature and needs to grow up a little bit. But the amount of talent that they have, how they're feeling about their locker room, the leadership that they have, it really didn't take its toll like it usually does here in Detroit, where it's been same old Lions for 60 years.
Do you have the best quarterback in the division, Matt, in your mind?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm not the biggest Jared Goff fan, but I could say yes. I mean, I'm not a Cousins fan either. So Kirk Cousins has won a road playoff game pretty recently when Minnesota went into New Orleans. So you give him that. It's obvious that Goff, when he was in LA at the early stages of Sean McVay, took that team to the Super Bowl. He had a really good year last year. Carman, I'll say yes. But I think that a lot of it is system oriented. I think Ben Johnson, the OC, is brilliant. I love the way they mix in the play action pass with the running game. They've got two-headed monster now with Montgomery and Gibbs, as opposed to last year with Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. I think they're still very good up front. So I think that enables Jared Goff to succeed there. And at the end of last season, he wasn't making any mistakes and he played really, really good football. So I'll say yes, because obviously with you guys, I still think it's a work in progress with Fields, and I don't know what Jordan Love is yet. And Kirk Cousins is on the back end, on the back nine, as they say.
You had the tongue-in-cheek Hendon Hooker set up on a tee for you there with best quarterback.
I mean, people are excited. I mean, you got to remember the Lions never, ever, ever draft a developmental young kid, 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round ever. I mean, the last was Brad Kaya out of Miami years ago. I've been begging on the show, and I've been doing this podcast since 2016. Just get a young guy in here to push Stafford. Get a young guy in here to push Goff, and they haven't done it. Hendon Hooker is interesting because he was really good last year, was on his way to New York City for the Heisman ceremony before he got hurt. But now, at 25 years old off a torn ACL, I think he's going to hold a clipboard all year. I don't think you're going to see him no matter what. And if Goff goes down, it's the Nate Sudfeld show. And then after that, my guess would be that they would go out and probably sign Teddy Bridgewater because he has New Orleans connections with Dan Campbell, Aaron Glenn, and some other assistant coaches.
Yeah, my one of my biggest concerns, like going into the draft, were the Lions going to take Anthony Richardson, right, and set themselves up for the future, or even the Vikings if somebody like that had fallen. And I was like, I don't want either of these teams to figure out their quarterback of the future. If they got to be good this year, so be it. But then you guys come through the back door and draft Hendon Hooker, who Adam Hogue, who's a part of our team, is very high on. Despite the age, I think we all saw, his ability last year before he got injured. So certainly an interesting project to give yourself a shot at. And in regards to Jared Goff, I think Bears fans, you talk about how we hype up Justin Fields and how excited we are for him, and we are. If he put up the kind of numbers Jared Goff did last year, we would be throwing a ticker tape parade on Lakeshore Drive.
It's interesting. I mean, he's not. When Fields went off against the Lions at Soldier Field, Lions came back and won that football game, of course, the Okuda pick six.
You guys cheated. We know. I'm kidding.
Right. But in that game, obviously, Fields ran for like almost 200 yards. And one of the local columnists here, and I'm not going to say his name, but in the Free Press said something to the effect of, despite the Lions win, they're going to need their own Fields one day. Goff's not good enough. And I think Jared took that to heart. I think they showed it to him. And he played really well. He doesn't have the sex appeal of Fields in terms of the two-way ability, the ability to scramble and do all that. But behind this offensive line, which is really, really good, and having a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown and now Sam Laporta at tight end, I think is going to be excellent. And Gibbs and Monty, I think you're going to be in good shape. And it's not the sexy thing, but Jared Goff's not 35 either. I mean, he's still in his 20s, and I think he's still got some good football left, and he still has something to prove.
So then let's ask a different question. You can have any quarterback in the division right now. You have him for the next 5 years. You still taking Goff over Fields?
Yeah. I'm just not a Fields fan.
To the side,
I like the Hall of Fields better in Columbus. I thought he was really good in college. I just I get it. and you guys see this more than me. That offensive line's been atrocious for how long? And I know you've had so many bad quarterbacks, and everybody jokes, well, the last time we made any run, it was Rex Grossman. But like, it's I want to see this year, because he's got some nice weapons and nice pieces, and the line is much better. I want to see him on 3rd and 10 in the fourth quarter of a tight game, make that throw. I don't know if he can do it.
Yeah.
All right. Can he run? Oh yeah, of course.
Well, I think, like Goff, he's going to move the chains. They're going to score points. And now with the Bears this year, is Fields going to be Drew Brees anytime soon? No, I don't think so. But his ability, his playmaking ability, they're going to move the chains. They have a better team around him on both sides of the ball, which they all play into each other. They're going to be competitive. I mean, they kept games pretty competitively close last year with one of the worst rosters I've ever seen here in Chicago. So I'm confident that, they're going to make plays. They're going to move the chain. They're going to score points. Wins and losses, sometimes come from the bounce of the ball and a flip of a coin. So we'll just have to wait and see when it comes to that. When you talk about you feeling like the Lions are the favorite, how much was it a disappointment? Like, I know everyone finished the season, but from your perspective, I'm curious, because everyone was so, satisfied. It felt like from the outside how the Lions finished the season knocking the Packers out. But I referenced earlier, they lost to the Panthers. I think it was the second to last week of the season. And that was the game that was going to get them in the playoffs. It's like they had to win that game. So when the season was over, as close as you guys were, was it, okay, this is great? Or was it disappointment because of how close you guys were to making the playoffs?
I mean, it was a little crazy around here. You guys have to remember something. And I know you guys have had some rough patches too in Chicago pretty recently. The Lions run this town no matter if they go 0-16, which they have recently, or 9-8. The Pistons are bad. The Tigers are laughably bad. And the Red Wings have not been good in years. So people are starving for something. So to watch the reaction of, all right, the Rams blew it against the Seahawks. So Seattle's going to get in, even if we beat the Packers tonight in week 17 in that game. And then the Lions win. All right. And it was like a party. It's like, well, wait a minute. They didn't win anything. They finished, yes, with a winning record, which is cute. But like when Jim Caldwell made it to the playoffs, people wanted him fired. Campbell takes a team 9-8. They don't make the playoffs. As you referenced, Greg, they gag in Carolina weeks earlier, get just housed by the Panthers and pushed around. But it was like, throw a damn parade down Woodward. It was crazy here. People were so happy about a game that really turned out to be, yes, they knocked Rodgers out. Yes, they knocked the Packers out, but really it didn't have much meaning other than fans just are so excited now that was a different feeling than maybe a few years ago when they actually made the playoffs.
Right. You're headed in the right direction. You beat Green Bay, which has tormented everybody for, I don't know, 3 decades, let's call it.
Right.
Is Dan Campbell the guy, Matt?
I think so. He's definitely a culture builder. He's got veteran free agents that would have left in previous regimes, staying on board for less money. Charles Harris, Romeo Quara, Halapoulivanti Vaitai, all these guys took a pay cut to stay, which is crazy. So he's got them all bought in. The question is, and you bring up a good one, Mark, you're right. Tight game. Remember week 4 last year in Minnesota? He's got a injured kicker, Austin Seibert, kicking 50-plus yarders. Bad move. Gave the Vikings a short field. Cousins comes down and rallies them to a win. And Campbell after the game said, I blew it. Now that you're the favorites, target's on your back. Is he going to be able to scheme? Is he going to make the right call in a fourth quarter? It still remains to be seen. This is the ultimate test now because everyone's picking the Lions. Vegas has the Lions. Go do it. And then we'll find out if he's the guy. But again, he's got 4 more years on his deal. He got a 6-year contract. He's not going anywhere. No, nowhere.
I just am rooting for him as much as a Bears fan on a Bears podcast can root for the Lions head coach. But he's a breath of fresh air in that he gives you something different than every other NFL coach. He's authentic. He's interesting. It's at times it's like it's a little meatball-y there, brother, but that's okay. Like I enjoy. We need more Dan Campbell, not less in the NFL, in my mind.
I agree. And with all these press conferences, and you guys know, Greg and Mark, about, media availability and how much time you have for a guy to say, hey, when you ask somebody about an injury on a Tuesday, back in the day, Jim Caldwell said the report will be out tomorrow at 4:30. It's like, are you serious? Or check the report or whatever. Belichick's been doing it for years. Dan Campbell saying, yeah, we're worried. He's going to be out a few weeks. And it's like you said, it's authentic, Carm. It's like, finally, someone's just giving us some answers, and it's hard not to like him. And, he and Brad Holmes work very well together, and that's good because, like I said before, we've had some GM coaches spats and some other things that have happened, and it's refreshing.
Well, speaking of refreshing, I mean, you talk about, everybody's picking the Lions this year. It feels like they're the hot team. Vibes, around the city are high, even though they fell short of the playoffs. And now the NFL picks them to start the season against the Kansas City Chiefs. Everybody was wondering what that game would be. I personally was like, how do you not put Bengals Chiefs week 1 and let them duke it out? We got to wait all the way till January and all these different variables come into play for that rivalry to get fired back up. But no, they picked the Lions to play in Kansas City. What's that like to now be the team that they want to put on the primetime stage like that?
Well, it's huge. I mean, you're talking. So the last game they played was obviously NBC and Tirico and Collinsworth, and obviously Mike being from Ann Arbor and living here, he's sort of like, has some Lions blood in him. And now they're going to do the game again. I think it's great. I think it's exciting. I have said on my podcast, I don't think they're going to win that football game. And it's not like I'm going out on some big limb here, but when you revamp your entire secondary, Greg, and you've got all new guys, and they're all upgrades. Don't get me wrong. The secondary is going to be good, but the first game together, adding Sutton, Gardner Johnson, Mosley, Walker coming back, and Joseph in his second year, to have the new secondary together for the first time against Mahomes, that could be a long night. I don't love the matchup for the first game, to be quite honest, but from an excitement standpoint, yes, the fans are thrilled. They can't wait.
June 21, Matt. Just let's get the division order. We'll save the tape. You got Detroit up top. Who's finishing second?
I still think the Packers aren't horrible. I think Green Bay still has good football players, and Rashawn Gary and Jair Alexander, and on the defensive side, I think Matt LaFleur is pretty good. I think that distraction and that diva is gone. I don't know if Jordan Love can do it, but I think that's not a bad team. I think Minnesota is going to take a big step back. And if they trade Danielle Hunter, I mean, come on, who's going to rush the passer up there? So I'd actually put the Bears ahead of the Vikings. If maybe it's because I'm being nice and I'm on your show, but I do believe I like what the Bears have done in free agency. The linebackers are good. I thought you spent a lot of money on them, but I think Minnesota's in big trouble.
Does Don Burr watch your podcast? Because he's in here every day and he just rattles at Bears fans. He's an
Don Burr. Do I know that?
Burr. He's a strong podcast listener who's always active in the chat. I don't see it tonight.
Yeah, we have.
I don't know, Don. If Don, I apologize if I don't remember you, but is he like hazing you guys about the Bears? Is he a Bears hater?
He's not in here tonight, so that's a big fail by him. But he's in our podcast chats every day, and just as somebody that watches a lot of different Bears podcasts, he goes in all Bears podcasts. And His name's Don Burr, and he's a diehard Lions fan, and everything he chats about is the Lions.
I'll have to shout him out. I'll have to shout him out tomorrow on my show.
I'm sure he's a big fan.
I did text Zach Zaidman and told him to tune in, though.
Hey, Zach. I know Zach well. That's
my boy.
Yeah, he's a legend in his own
He
right.
is.
We miss his reporting with the Bears for sure.
Oh,
Two very quick ones. Hard Knocks. I know there's some rumors that you guys might be considered for back-to-back years. Would you welcome that?
I was told they're not going to do it. I was
Okay.
told the Lions have told the league no. The league's begging them, from what I'm being told, because of how entertaining they were.
They
and I
are.
guess the other teams, including the Bears, nobody wants to do it.
Yeah, I'm disappointed about it for the Bears standpoint. I want it.
But I get it too. When you have a new GM, or the second year now for these guys, I can see the distraction. I can see, how the Lions handled it very well. They really did. I was worried about it. I said this is going to be a circus, and they handled it great. So it also helped that you had a pretty mature first round pick in Aiden Hutchinson. You had, guys bought into the Jamal Williams craziness a little bit, and it ended up working out. But I can see why the Bears, Jets, and a few of these other teams have said, we don't want to do it. But here's another thing. The reason the Lions did it, the Lions have been begging the league for the Super Bowl. They wanted, or it's not Super Bowl, the draft. They've been wanting to host the draft for years. And I think this was a little give and take. Like, we'll do Hard Knocks, give us the draft. And so we're getting the draft here
next
in
year,
a couple
right?
of years.
Or 2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then the helmet release came out today. I saw a little bit of your thoughts on Twitter. It sounds like you like the new design.
I do. I wish they would wear this with their blue and gray jerseys and silver jerseys. They're going to wear it just for 2 weeks. Week 8 against the Raiders for Monday Night Football, and then week 18 against the Vikings at home. They're wearing their gray color rush. So that'll go with the all gray uniform. I would have liked to have seen that with the white or even the blue, but other than that, I think it's pretty cool. That old Lion logo, they barely use that.
Yeah,
from the 60s.
Well, it looks like it's from the Egyptian pyramid
I know.
era. It's like a hieroglyphic. It almost
Totally.
looks like
But
from me.
They rarely use that, but the fans love it. And so I think it's pretty cool. Look, like Harm said, it's June 21st. So, like, you know, what else are we doing here? So that was a smart move for the Lions to get a little publicity.
Did you ever see the girl that does the redesigns that Emily creates, and she made this Lions logo just out of curiosity? I thought this was pretty sharp by her.
I didn't love it. I thought it was all right. It got a lot of play, that's for sure. And they, you know, players were wearing t-shirts too. So
all right, Matt. Well, I appreciate you coming on tonight. Certainly was efforting. Everybody was kind of highly recommending you. I didn't know you knew Carm, so that's pretty cool. Appreciate you coming on at the late hour. We appreciate you. Maybe we can cross paths another time down the road.
Would love it, guys. Thank you so much.
Matt Dery, good to see you, brother.
Hi, Mark. Thanks, bud.
See you, brother.
Right, that is Matt Dery from Locked On Lions. Make sure to follow him on Twitter from perspective from the other side of enemy lines. We appreciate him coming on tonight, and Steve Edwards for that matter. So nice little after dark.
And now Don Burr's popping in to attack Dery that he's a Browns fan. Settle down, Donnie Burr.
Oh, so he did show up. 2.0. Is there a 1.0 I'm not aware of? Like, what's going on here, Don?
I'm not. Has he not always been 2.0?
I guess. I guess
I thought he was always 2.0.
Yeah, Robert Friel goes, I think Don Burr heard his name. You summoned the demon, Braggs. Yeah, we spoke his name into existence, and here he is. So there it is.
Good show, Braggsy. Had a lot of fun. Dery,
you still got your cram shirt on? Are you still rocking it? You took it off. I get you a nice gift. Look at us all smiling. The cram shirt. I was very proud of this. You looked like you didn't know how to feel. You were like happy.
No, because I don't want to be called Cram.
I know that. Well, maybe today we'll retire it, but you know, I felt like it would be fun.
I was driving actually later in the afternoon. By the way, it's nice to have the Sanborn jersey just hanging out there. And I did think to myself, I did not properly thank you, Greg, for making the effort to put my face on a T-shirt, pay money out of your own pocket to bring in 4 of them. You did not have to do that, and I do appreciate it. So despite
I'm not looking for a thank you. Obviously, I like to have fun with you, and so it was a funny idea.
I know you're not looking for it. I know you're not looking for it, you jerk. I'm just giving you a thank you because you're a sweetheart.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I enjoy doing these shows. It's the slow time of the year. I know everybody wants to dive deep into Bears talk. We got all season here coming up with training camp. We got 5 weeks to kind of spin the wheel, have a little fun, come up with some different ideas. Obviously, here on After Dark, the next one up is July 5th. I'm looking into, a Minnesota Vikings podcaster here and there, maybe another Locked On guy. They've been really good to us, so stay on the lookout for that. I think that's about it tonight. I don't really have anything else. You got anything else for me?
No, say goodnight. Say goodnight.
You want to rest your knee up, don't you?
I'm so upset about this. Have you ever had it unstable and then it comes back to normal without surgery?
Yeah, I don't want to scare you, but that's what I have going on. It's an MCL, and your MCL is torn or partially torn. Your knee, it'll almost feel like your kneecap will pop in and out of place.
I'm
right?
not there. That's not what's happening.
Okay, well, that's what's happening to me.
Yeah.
So we both have knee problems. Nick's got a finger problem, and Adam's in his mansion.
He's actually at the event for Vaughn.
Oh, that's
and-
right. Yeah,
yeah.
he's at the event tonight for Vaughn McClure and Jeff Dickerson.
Yeah.
Sounded like a nice time. Maybe I'll go next year. But I think that wraps things up for tonight. Hey, everybody watching, everybody tuned in, please hit that like button. Show some support to the After Dark crew. 2 shows in one day for you, trying to pump out the Bears content as best we can. We appreciate everyone tuning in. The CHGO Bears gang will be back tomorrow afternoon, so make sure you tune in. I'll be finishing the other side of my driveway, working hard in the heat tomorrow, and maybe half in my pool too. And
You're the man. You
Mark
are the
doesn't
man.
care.
Don't care, but you are the man.
All right.
I'm gonna go. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have I think I'm gonna have a couple Goose Island tonight, buddy. That's
there
my
you
plan
go.
over here.
All
Yeah.
right.
All
Well,
right.
everybody. Well, we don't have. We do have the honk. Look. There it is. Shout out Goose Island. All right, guys. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow. Bear down.
All right.